like you lost another one.
Say we stand on guard for thee. That means that if our country is threatened, we have an obligation to stand on guard for it. Our freedoms and rights are being threatened. They are being taken away and our children's futures are at stake. It is time to act. We cannot sit back. We cannot comply anymore. How much more are we willing to take? Our children have to wear masks in school all day. We can't visit our sick relatives. You're not supposed to hug your grandmother. How long is this going to continue? You have to get out and stand with us. It is time to take action. I hope you guys don't mind, but I wrote down some words I wanted to say. Okay. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I believe this summer is going to be an absolutely critical time for us as Albertans, and more broadly, as Canadian citizens. Over the course of the last 13 or so months, we have seen sweeping changes across the entirety of our country. While the public was initially assured it would likely only be a short 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then we would be back to normal, many of us knew differently. The power, wealth, and influence of the already powerful, wealthy, and influential have been growing at an exponential rate for many years prior to COVID, and history has taught us that the more wealth and power one accumulates, the more they want, and their hunger soon becomes insatiable. This is how tyrants like Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, and Mao Zedong are created. Once they have seized power from the people, oftentimes using their health and safety as an excuse, they don't just stop there. They continue to take from the peasants until there is nothing left to take. When I say this, it may sound far-fetched, but I assure you it is not. The politicians who are making decisions in this country right now are the exact same types of people. They crave power and control, and now that they've had a taste of it, they will only continue to grow hungrier. And they will only continue to take more of our rights and freedoms away. We have seen plenty of this already, haven't we? So how are they getting away with it? Well, for one thing, they have a lot of practice when it comes to manipulating the public. They knew we wouldn't just accept communism on its face, but by slowly sneaking certain practices into regularity underneath our noses, they can normalize it, downplay it, and then convince the people it's not really that bad. I will give you an example. I was at the Calgary Airport and Westing Quarantine Hotel when the unconstitutional practice of forced isolation at hotels first began. I saw the veil of secrecy behind their actions. They had collapsible black curtained walls set up along the terminals and arrivals so that they could whisk away the travelers relatively undetected by the general public. There was a separate elevator for these quarantined arrivals that was hidden behind yet another black wall. From there, they snuck the travelers out a back door and immediately into an unmarked vehicle with blacked out windows and then off to the Westin Hotel to quarantine. It wouldn't be a stretch to say that they were proactively working to keep their quarantine procedures away from the eyes of the public. Fast forward to today, and you will see that the secrecy of this practice is now a thing of the past. They openly usher the incoming travelers to the far end of arrivals, where there is an enormous section dedicated entirely to those being quarantined. There are rows of stalls, all 6 feet apart by the way, where scores of travelers clad in medical masks stand in silence and patiently wait for their transport van to arrive. The first couple of times we had staked out the airport, it took us hours upon hours to catch even the slightest glimpse of this process. They were quick, careful, and meticulous. Despite the endless hours of sneaking around the airport trying to catch a glimpse, we never did find out for sure where they were removing the travelers. But now it is happening right out in public where anybody can see it for themselves. So why the sudden and dramatic change? Well, because now it has become just another normalized practice that people have accepted and made excuses for. This is the modus operandi of our government. They quietly sneak in these dangerous and blatantly unconstitutional health measures under our noses. Eventually they will be discovered, and they are well aware of that. That's when their propagandists in the mainstream media come into play. The media reports on these events as if they are no big deal, making sure to put a heavily biased spin on the truth and help their political masters achieve the normalization of things that should never ever be normalized in a free country. A quarantine process that included at first only cooperating hotels located near the Canadian International Airport has now spread to include well over 100 hotels nationwide. These hotels are no longer situated exclusively within international airport cities, but in practically every city and every province in the country. They didn't come right out and admit to the public that this is what would be happening. They knew that we wouldn't accept that without the practice being slowly and methodically normalized first. As we have witnessed the steadily increasing attacks on our Canadian values over the last 13 months, one thing has become painfully clear. Their hunger for power has become insatiable. They will not stop taking from us until we have nothing left. That is, if we let them. You see, their entire system is built upon compliance. They must get the majority of the people to accept these practices and to comply with their rules and regulations for them to work. But that, my friends, is the good news. That means that all we have to do for their entire system of control to collapse is say no. When you arrive back at the airport after taking a vacation and they tell you to quarantine yourself in a government-approved hotel for 3 days, you say no. When they tell you to wear a mask in public and breathe in your own recycled oxygen and CO2 for hours on end, you say no. When they tell you to avoid visiting friends and family members, and when they tell you to avoid giving your grandparents a hug, you say no. That is the motto I want to institute within our group and part of our Canadian Revolution. We forcefully say no by politely declining. But we have even more weapons than that available to us. We have each other. We have our Anti-COVID Alliance families. We, the people, have more power than these political cowards can possibly imagine if we stick together and stand up for ourselves, our families, and our community members. That is why divide and conquer is always their main method of control. They fear the people unifying despite their differences and learning to work and live together in harmony without them. They should fear us, and fear us they shall, for we are not going anywhere and we are not going to comply with their ridiculous health restrictions. Now, as all family members do, we are bound to have disagreements, get in arguments, and hurt each other's feelings every once in a while. This does not make us unique. We are not incompatible. We are simply human beings with differing opinions and life experiences who are passionate about many of the same things. But we all know that no matter what, each and every Saturday, we will be meeting here at Confederation Park to spend time with our family and celebrate the fact that we still have our freedom and we refuse to give it up. I love you guys, and I love spending my Saturdays with you guys. Take a look around you at all the people that stand here today. This is your family. These people will support you. They will help you when you need a hand, and they will gladly watch your back because that's what families do. And how many people can say that? Thank you, guys.